From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Wednesday, January the 6th, 2021. Sudan today took further steps towards the normalization of ties with Israel. State-run news agency SUNA tweeted with a photo of U.S. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin and Sudanese Justice Minister Nasreddin Abdul-Bari in Khartoum, signing a memorandum of understanding for a bridge loan under which the U.S. will pay Sudan's arrears to the World Bank Group, and the declaration of Abraham agreements for tolerance, dialogue, and coexistence between different peoples and religions in the Middle East and the world, referring there to the signing of an Abraham Accords document indicating Sudan's intentions to move ahead with normalization with Israel, which Sudan said it agreed to back in October. Mnuchin shared a readout of the event today on Twitter, writing that the U.S. provided Sudan with the $1.2 billion loan and discussed Sudan's opening of relations with Israel under the Abraham Accords. The U.S. in October agreed to remove Sudan from its list of state sponsors of terrorism after Sudan put $335 million into an escrow account for the compensation of American victims of terror and their families. Mnuchin and his team left Sudan this evening, tweeting, "On my way to Israel now for important meetings." Israel's foreign minister, meanwhile, Gabi Ashkenazi, said Sudan's signing onto Abraham Accords is an important step in advancing regional normalization agreements in the Middle East, thanking the U.S. administration for its efforts. Ashkenazi wrote, "I hope that this agreement will soon bring progress in the dialogue and normalization between Israel and Sudan and promote the development of relations between our two countries." Israel's cabinet ministers approved a 2-week full lockdown beginning tomorrow night at midnight. The restrictions include the shuttering of schools as well as businesses that are non-essential. While Israel has been leading in its COVID-19 vaccinations, it is still battling a continuing spike in positive cases of the virus. Reports this week of several Jewish individuals expected to be named by President-elect Joe Biden to top positions. Politico reported yesterday that Wendy Sherman, who led the negotiations for the Iran deal, will be named by Biden as his Deputy Secretary of State. And today, Politico said that Merrick Garland, Chief Judge of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit and a former Supreme Court nominee, will be named as Biden's Attorney General. A rabbi in Germany who faced an onslaught of verbal anti-Semitic abuse is putting the focus on the many who came to his aid. The Allgemeiner reports that Rabbi Mendel Gurevitz was walking home from synagogue in the city of Offenbach with his children and some friends last Friday night when a man began screaming anti-Semitic remarks and curses at them, which Gurevitz wrote on his Facebook page was shocking, though it does happen. But he wrote, what followed is what is rarely reported on, that from every window people intervened. He wrote, shouting at the aggressor, defending us. Many immediately called the police. They vocally expressed their rejection of the offender. Some left their houses and started to chase him by foot and by car. The outcry of rejection and disappointment at this act was overwhelming. It was a sudden explosion of love and support, a brave and warm embrace of neighbors of every background and ethnicity, acting as brothers to defend their neighbor, the rabbi. The American Jewish Committee shared the story and the public response, which they wrote was heartening, writing that anti-Semitism is not a Jewish problem. We must work together to confront this rising evil. Police officers in Offenbach later arrested the 46-year-old suspect for sedition, hate speech, and displaying symbols of far-right organizations that are banned under the German Constitution. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Wednesday, January the 6th. At 7 o'clock, terrorism and legal analyst Yonah Jeremy Bob discusses Israel's nation-state law and other issues. At 8, it's a discussion of the future for Israel and Jewish students on college campuses with Jonathan Haidt, Peter Berkowitz, and Elliot Kaufman. At 9 o'clock, 3 giants in the field of First Amendment law, Floyd Abrams, Alan Dershowitz, and Nadine Strassen, explore concepts of free speech, hate speech, and cancel culture in a 2-hour special with Mark Golub. And coming up next on Thinking Out Loud, Micah Halpern discusses U.S.-Israel cooperation on containing Iran and surveys the history of Ottoman-Turkish relations with the Jews of Europe and with the State of Israel. And that's the JBS News Update for Wednesday, January the 6th, 2021. I'm Teisha Bader. Stay healthy. Stay well.